Hey everybody, I am here at Hands in Harmony Wellness Center or Wellness
Yes.
Spa with my friend Nancy Brewington, and she has such a huge and amazing history, and I'm going to let her just start by introducing herself so I don't butcher
Oh well, you can't butcher nothing. I tell you.
it.
No, I'm Nancy Brewington. I am a 20-year vet. I was in transportation, but after I retired out of the military, I felt led by God to go back and serve others, and I went back to school and became a nurse. So I've been a nurse now 10 years, and 2 of those years I've been an oncology nurse, and 5 of those years I have opened up a wellness center called Hands in Harmony. So that's a little brief kind of story about who I am, and
Awesome.
had the pleasure in this journey of mine to have met Audrey.
Aw,
And
thanks.
so it's been a really huge success for me in knowing her.
Aw.
So,
Well, if I fall asleep in this interview, it's because I just came out of a massage with Nancy. So I highly recommend that you come and get one. It's amazing. But I wanted to just ask Nancy a couple of questions because she's got a lot of wisdom from her experience with nursing in the oncology field. So I think the first thing I asked you was, what would you advise someone going into a doctor's visit for a first time who either was diagnosed or was getting their diagnosis, or you had a good piece of advice for that?
well, we all know that sometimes when you get ready to go see a doctor, that sometimes the news may not be a good news, or in your case, you had good news this time, so I'm so happy for you. But sometimes, no matter whether it's good or bad, you should always know to be prepared and have with you questions. And a lot of times when you go to the doctor and you get bad news, it's like Charlie Brown. Everything the doctor says to you is wow, 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 wow.
Mm-hmm.
You don't remember anything that they said because now your brain is kind of thinking about what's going on. So take somebody with you. Don't ever start a journey by yourself. And have questions. Have a pad of paper written down of all your questions and your concerns. And in doing that, read each question off. If you're by yourself, read them off, or have the doctor look at each question and
Mm-hmm.
answer them the best way he can. And then if you have a friend, have them write down the questions and the answers. Because otherwise, you're going to leave out of there totally dazed, not knowing what to do. You go home, you're going to tell your family, and they're going to ask you all kinds of questions. And the only thing you're going to say is, I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. So have questions, make sure that they get answered the
Yeah.
best way. And I tell you, majority of the doctors, they're there for you, and they're going to get those questions answered. Or
Yeah.
if not, say, can I come back and we could go ahead and discuss this at a later time. The
Right.
best thing to do.
Yeah. I definitely did not do that and left with that kind of like, I have no idea what they just said.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also, sometimes you don't even know the questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe ask, what do I need to ask you? You know, what do
Okay.
I need to know? Um,
One of the things is, what do I have? Bottom
mhm,
line, what is the diagnosis? Okay, and then what is the prognosis? And what is the treatment options?
mhm,
The options are, if it's going to be medication, it's alternatives.
mhm,
And then how long would the options be? How long would the treatments be? So at least that way you have a time frame to
mhm.
know, to work with, so that you get things in order.
Right.
And then, and if you need to go see a case manager or a social worker to see about finances, so that you know how much money it's going to take and it's going to involve.
Right.
And so those are the really key questions that you need to ask. And make sure that you have some kind of answers to those.
Mhm.
Were those some of the kind of questions you went back home and had yourself?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, you just are blindsided and knocked over the head, and you
Mhm.
just don't know.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
another thing, when you said prognosis, I would take that to a certain extent with a
Mhm.
grain of salt.
Exactly. But you know what? A grain of salt. But guess who's going to be asking you when you get home?
Right.
Your family members going to ask you their questions, and then you're going to kind of say, I don't know. And then when you don't know, then you're going to get all frustrated. You can say, well, the doctor says this, but I believe this.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least that way at least you know something of what the future may hold and how you're going to handle it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's good to know maybe what are the statistics. But when I was in the hospital July 4th and they just sort of assigned me this gynecologist.
Oncology.
Not a gynecologist. He was so ominous, and he said something like, well, you got about 6 months to a year to live. And I was in shock, and I just said, well, what does that mean? Is there treatment? He said, well, you could do chemo, but you got to think of your quality of life. In other words, you're going to die, so don't bother with chemo. And now here I am with another oncologist, and she said I am extremely close to being in remission with her treatment. So, maybe get that prognosis, but again, that prognosis is not your death sentence by any stretch.
Right, true. And one of the things, being in the military, if you don't know what your end game is, you don't know how to prepare for it.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have the prognosis, you would not have known how to work your battle.
Yeah.
You didn't know what your other options were. I don't like that prognosis. I don't like that scenario. Let me go ahead and figure out another game plan.
Yeah.
So that's why I say the prognosis is not that it has to be a death sentence.
Right.
Because you make it the reality that you want it to be.
Yeah. So talk about that. You told me about that woman from San Angelo. What was her story?
Well, she was given a diagnosis of having cancer, and it was a very aggressive type of cancer. It was going to only be, life expectancy was nil. And the reality wasn't very good. And she had the most awesome family because they flew her in on a weekend from San Angelo. And her family drove. And by the time she got there, and a few hours later, her whole family was just camped outside her room. And so her family was so supportive through her journey with her during that whole time. And she's been in the hospital for about over a year. And
wow.
She lived in San Angelo. Sometimes during her treatment, she would go home for maybe a weekend and then come back and went back to her treatment because that's how aggressive it was. But her journey was not her reality of what she was given. And now she's actually celebrating 5 years. 5 years of when she was diagnosed. At that time, her reality was very aggressive, and the prognosis was just death within a few months.
Wow.
Yes, and there was a few times we lost her, and maybe she'll go ahead and see this and may go ahead and say something about it, and have others to go ahead and know about it too. But her family, we still talk on Facebook, and they celebrate the anniversary and everything. This is really awesome. But we lost her almost a few times, but she kept on battling. She kept on fighting. Her family fought for her. I had the pleasure of being her nurse and being there for her and helping her fight. And there was times when I would give her massages too, so and prayed over her and just been there. And I've learned a lot, and it was a pleasure for me to be in there, being her nurse.
Yeah,
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking maybe some of you don't have family to support you like she did, but that support system is so important. My family is all spread out all over the country, so I didn't have people right here next to me, and I am an introvert. So I'm good on Facebook because you can kind of just put it out there, and I really stretched myself and I created a Facebook page, and it just grew and grew, and I found so much support and encouragement from that, and out of that people started entering my life, and the support has been incredible. So I really encourage you listening to find that support.
And there are there's a lot of support groups out there. Cancer women support groups out there. Find them.
Yeah.
And if that is not the right one for you, find another one. But there are out there. There's a lot of women just like you, and who are survivors, and they want to be out there to help you. So you don't have family around you, you will make new family.
You sure will. Yeah. Suddenly you'll see angels all around you. Incredible. Thank you, Nancy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Bye.